Well, it's episode 4, and I've started to name these episodes, and this one's going to be called Remember It's Hard, which for me is pretty standard at the moment because it's 84 days before Ironman Australia, and it's getting hard. So I reckon that's a pretty good title for this week. So episode 4 is Remember It's Hard. And just to give you a quick overview of what this week looks like, I'll give you a bit of a snapshot on what's going on with my training program. I think I promised you last week that we have a catch up with Crowie. That's actually today, which I'm really looking forward to. We'll hear about what the great man's up to. We're also heading down later during the week to the Gold Coast, and we're going to catch up with one of our M5 performance clients under management, and that's Jack Sosinski, who's heading to Kona. But Jack is also a fantastic bike fitter, and he's also got his own training group. So a wealth of knowledge, someone that I love catching up with, and it's serving a couple of purposes because he's going to help one of our age group athletes, a fellow by the name of Wayne Knott, get his bike all set up. Wayne's also heading to Kona. So it's going to be good fun watching those two lads trade notes in relation to Kona. But hang about after it, because I'll also have some announcement about a special guest that I've got coming up in episode 5 that you're going to want to hear about. So back to me, my program this week. We're in build, so it's getting hard, as per my title, in regards to Remember It's Hard, and I certainly got some good reminders of that, but really some positive stuff. And I guess that started with our hill repeat session, which we do on a Wednesday. We had 8 400-metre hill repeats with the recovery down. This is always a bit of a testing session for me. When I'm fit, I can get through it very well. When I'm not that fit or niggles, I usually limp off and feel sorry for myself and go for an early coffee. But I actually managed to get through this session really well. And also, I actually woke up the next day feeling okay as well. So no niggles in the hamstring. I managed to get through 4 of the 8 in pretty good pace. I didn't do an overkill here, but I'm really looking forward to being able to have a good run off the bike this coming Saturday, and then also it'd be awesome if I could go and run a 2 hours on Sunday. And if I do that, I've got to say that's probably the first time since last year that I've been able to get through that sort of level of training, which was fantastic. Hey, just for something a little bit on the side, M5, back in the M5 management days, we managed a number of Olympic swimmers, and one was Shona Jack, and recently Shona announced her retirement. Now, we were involved and with Shona during that very difficult time of her life when she was suspended. She served her suspension with great dignity. She came back and secured herself an amazing gold medal at the Paris Olympics. She continued along with the Dolphins team up until most recently, where she won the 4x100 with at Glasgow, and I think they broke the world record. And she I think her final swim was the 50 metres, where she picked up a bronze. But Shona's had an amazing career. I'm sure we'll see more of her. And from M5, we just want to wish you luck, Shona, with all that's in front of you. Now, I also wanted to mention someone else that I'm a big follower of, and that's Grant Giles. If you're in the triathlon space, you'd have to know Gilesy, because most days you'll see his face giving him his wisdom around performance particularly in the triathlon space. And he's never given you advice about a type of session, but he's sure going to give you advice about what headspace you need to be in if you want to enjoy a positive triathlon, a multi-sport career. So I'm going to put his link up into the episode description, and I really urge you to go and have a look at Giles here, because he really is the guru of Australian triathlon. Oh, also a quick thank you. I've had a couple of people reach out over the last week who have actually read my book, and they've been very kind enough just to mention the impact that it's had on them in a positive way, and I think that was really grateful for that. But it also gave me an opportunity to actually say to you that, and here it is, it's still available. So if you'd like to go to our website, and I will put a link into our description, you're more than happy to send you one, and I'll even sign it for you if you like. So keep that in mind. It's a book on triathlon, but it's also a book on my life and being resilient, and most importantly, being brave. And I think you'll enjoy it.
Crowie, thank you for joining M5 Diaries. It's our 4th episode. And mate, I know that you and I have chatted thousands of different times about all sorts of different stuff, and predominantly it's been about athletes competing, and obviously your record speaks for itself. But those who don't know, 3 times World Championship at Kona, a couple of 70.3 World Championships, one of the best fellas on the planet in so many different ways, but also someone that knows the landscape and the entire ecosystem of triathlon inside out, back to front, and particularly over the last few years when he sort of moved into the business side of the sport, and is actually now a co-founder of the Training House Shop, and declaring our interests that M5 are fortunate enough to be a partner. But I particularly wanted to get Crowie on this call because he's now identifying athletes, and part of what we're looking at trying to do is just bring a bit of education to viewers in regards to what brands look for when they're looking for ambassadors and what their expectations are. And it may not always be the best athletes are the ones that are getting the gigs. Hey, Crowie.
Mate, thank you for the invitation to come on. Can't believe it took you 4 episodes to invite me. Yeah, it's been a long journey in the sport. Of course, at one point I was an athlete, or not at one point, for 25 years I raced as a pro athlete. So obviously came to understand very clearly what your KPIs are as an athlete in terms of not only results, but part of being a successful professional athlete is attracting partners, sponsors, if you will. And I think one of the great things about my education on that side of the sport is you work out that it's not a donation, it's not a one-way street, it's a partnership. And in great partnerships, value flows both ways. So as a sponsored athlete, my responsibility and my job really was to bring as much value as I could to my partners. And I think you come to the attention of potential sponsors or partners because of your results, but also because of who you are and what you represent, your values. Hopefully the things that people think you stand for align with what they are trying to accomplish and with what they stand for. I think they're the best partnerships to be involved in, because when values align, I think a lot of the other issues or problems that arise can be worked out, so long as you're on the same page with the most important things. So but also as an athlete, it's not just about results. You realize it's about turning up for your partner's audience when they need you to be there. It could be a speaking engagement, it could be an expo, could be a trade show, any of those things. And so yeah, there's so much more to the puzzle than just the results. But I think one sort of train of thought that almost always served me well as an athlete was understanding that results. It's a results-driven business, so I need to be concerning myself and focusing on the things that I can do to deliver consistent results and perform at a high level, because your values and everything else is really dependent upon that. And then there's things like being, unique. In marketing and sales all the time, you hear people talk about what's your USP, your unique selling point. How are you different from the other competitors you're racing? What intangibles or tangibles do you bring to the table? So all of those things. And now, as you mentioned, I now sit on the other side of the fence. I've sat on sort of boards of different companies. Some of my sponsors back in the day invited me onto the board. They wanted sort of an athlete or an ex-athlete point of view or voice on the board. So I got to understand company governance and that side of things, which was an education in itself. So I think that was important, but also just how the world has changed the last 10 to 15 years. I think it's important for athletes to understand that. And, there are tools and platforms available now that I think bring more exposure and more eyeballs, mass exposure, but they also bring responsibilities and distraction. So I think it's about balancing those things. But, ultimately, I think the best thing you can do as an athlete is, again, get good help, surround yourself with good people. And understand what the different requirements are and the different paths, but ultimately be true and authentic to yourself. I mean, I think if you're not truly a salesperson, then getting on social media and coming across that way might work in the short term. But if you want sort of any sort of longevity, particularly with so much transparency now, with athletes and prominent figures popping up on our social media feeds and on our televisions all the time, for me, one thing that stands out is consistency of character. When someone always presents the same way, stays true to their values year after year, even when it's not convenient or not financially rewarding to do so, I think I'm not alone in saying that is attractive to partners. So, I think there's a lot of things. You and I were just chatting before you were able to find the record button, which took a while, but just how, this new world brings, I think I said to you, I'm glad I wasn't around when we had to do all this social media. And I was actually, my career did coincide. I'm not that old, but I think it's on steroids now, where athletes have content teams around them, and
that can, and you're always good at, Crowie, you're always very good at, but it can get, I mean, we see it all the time, don't we? We're seeing so much content now. And I guess that authenticity piece is what gives you the cut through, doesn't it? And I think, let's mention an athlete. I mean, let's mention Nick Thompson, who, you and I both have a lot to do with these days. But the reason why we have a lot to do with him, because we've identified him as someone that is truly authentic, but he matches us in different ways. When we look for athletes, we look at things like and make really basic things, manners, the ability to be able to adapt, appreciation, gratitude, all these types of things. Someone that we're prepared to go and work, do our extra miles for. And so Nick comes across that way. And I think some of the other athletes that we've identified certainly have that in spades.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I always found Nick, even when I met him the first time, just incredibly humble and down to earth. And I've been around sport a long time, and a lot of the great champions share that trait. They just, on the race course, they're completely competitive. They're a different beast, but in person, they have an empathy for people. And I'm not going to say they take it easy on their competitors, but I think they have an empathy for those that they race and their peers, because they know how hard it is. I got that sense with Nick, and I just thought he was a nice guy. I met his dad as well over in Nice, and I just thought he's a really nice guy. And you can see when you meet his friends, the people who are around him as well. I met John and a few of the others from the ogging squad, and I just thought, to this is what the sport is about for me: community and doing stuff with your friends, racing, training with your friends. But then the cherry on top is the kid's an absolute beast on the race course. I mean, he's got, and you know, let's not get it twisted. I know there's so many things that we look at now, and maybe we're too hard on young athletes because we want them to check all the boxes. But one of the boxes you need to check is that you're a high performer, and he's certainly that. I think so. Yeah, for me, I mean, everybody's different, and we, you know, in this world as an athlete, but also in business, I think you need to be self-aware of your own strengths and weaknesses, but the things that you like and that appeal to you. And someone like Nick is just really appealing to me. I just think he's a great athlete. You know, I see the way his competitors talk about him as well, and the regard that they hold. I think that says a lot, because the people you race are on the race course with you in the highest stress, highest pressure moments, and the values and behaviors that you display in those situations. I mean, it would be easy to take shortcuts and do the wrong thing, or, you know, his peers and colleagues think very highly of him. So for me, that just says a lot. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like to feel like I'm being sold to the whole time. And with Nick, I don't. When I have a conversation with him, that's Nick. You're speaking to Nick Thompson, and you're getting the full Nick Thompson experience. So yeah, I'm a big fan.
Okay, so if I bring that back to the training house shop, and when you're an emerging business, you've been out there. We're in our third year now.
Just about to start our third year, yeah.
Third year.
Coming to the end of the second.
So, and you're sort of looking to go, okay, well, what can we now use to bring our brand forward? So we look at influencers and we look at athletes, and sometimes they're both. And someone like, so do you look at things like, and I've got an opinion on this, but so do we look at TV? Do we look at do we expect Nick to, would you like to see Nick, you know, with a training house, who's obviously got the helmet on, but how much value do you put on exposure of your brand visually in a broadcast?
That's a great question, because a lot of the broadcasts are global, and at the moment we're a domestic business. So how much value is there in getting exposure in the US? Or it's hard to put a figure on that, but there's so many different audiences now. So the broadcast is important for sure. I mean, I get a kick out of seeing the training house helmet whiz across, and one of the great things about Nick is he's one of the best bikers in the sport. So
a lot of it.
Yeah, he's up the front. World Championships in Nice last year, he was up the front of the race. IRONMAN Cairns last year, and this year he's been at the front of the race. So that's important. But I think you touched on influencers before, and I don't think that's a dirty word. Some people see it as a dirty word. I mean, you can be a high performance athlete and a world champion. You're an influencer, just like someone who is maybe not at that level of athletic performance, but has quite an influence on their community and the community at large. So I think they all have their place. It can be challenging, I guess, to quantify exactly the value.
I guess that's my point, Crowie, is that back in the day, it was all about brand exposure. It was all about TV.
Yeah.
How many eyeballs will I get looking at my logo on that kit, or on that grandstand signage, or on the football pitch, whatever it might be? It was about logo identification and the amount of times we actually get to see your brand. And it's changed, hasn't it? It's changed a lot. I mean, it's a nice value add, but it's, you know, we don't put TV when we're presenting an athlete to you. We're not talking about broadcast exposure, are we? We're talking
about
community engagement. We're talking about the ability for that athlete to have an influence directly to the people that are buying your products.
Yeah, it's about moving the needle for a business. It's about moving the needle. That's the ultimate metric. And there's things you look at before that, as anyone in business will tell you, because you don't just get to home base. There's other things you need to do to move the needle. But yeah, it's a great point you make. I mean, I've got a few friends who have started run clubs locally in Sydney, and they've got 80 or 100 runners regularly coming to their organised runs, and they're impacting. They're making an impact. They're influencers. They're influencing an audience that we would identify as our audience as well. So yeah, it's a different world, and I think it's progressive. I think all these different social media platforms, whatever they may be, you can expose, and brand exposure is important. Getting your logo out there, because what do they say? It takes 5 to 7 times for a logo, for someone to see a logo before it kind of resonates with them, or that it registers, oh yeah, I've seen that before, and then that's the first step to the subsequent steps. So yeah, no, all of those things are important, and I think that's in some respects makes it harder now, because you aren't just looking for performance on the racetrack. Whilst it's still, I think in a performance industry and selling performance products like sports nutrition, high performance still, my wife just made a nice little cameo. We are recording, by the way. Neri just made a little cameo. Yeah, so I think in a performance industry, high performance is still a powerful endorser, but you know, there's so many different audiences out there, and not, again, it's self-awareness and group awareness, community awareness, and just a greater awareness. Not everyone's trying to win a world title, mate. Not some people are trying to get back in shape after being locked in the corporate environment for 20 years. Some people, I mean, I come across athletes all the time who are getting back into the sport, mums and dads signing up to do marathons or triathlons. Their kids are now older. They're through those intensive years. They're just trying to get back into the sport that they love, or any sport, a sport. So, and all those people potentially can be your customers. So, and I guess it comes down to what's relatable. Is someone in that position, or maybe someone who wants to do their first triathlon at 40 years of age, can they relate to a world champion, or is someone who's trodden the path that they're treading, is that person more relatable? And I think the answer to that question, we'd all agree, is yeah, it's about relatability. It's about accessibility as well. And that's another thing that social media doesn't. The best people on social media engage with their audience and make themselves accessible through that sort of engagement. So yeah, it's certainly not as one-dimensional as you talked about. I mean, you will remember, like I do, that negotiations used to center around bonuses for magazine covers, bonuses for, in print media, which is a thing of the past now, bonuses for being on television, real estate on your chest, logo placement. They form the basis of a lot of negotiations. What leg do you want your logo on? Where does the camera come when you're riding the bike? I think that's almost a thing of the past. Now, it still forms some part of the discussions with certain athletes.
It glues it together, I think, now, Craig. I think that's what it does. It sort of adds the final glue. It cements the relationship to say, I'm proudly supported by whoever it is, and here it is here. So that brand won't necessarily get a massive benefit from that, but I think it's the athlete's way of actually sort of still saying, hey, listen, this is part of this is my team. This is my team here, right here. Because you touched on influences, and I 100% agree with you, but I still believe, I used to think that, if you're absolutely right. Use the example of a 40-year-old, not necessarily, or 50-year-old, not necessarily related to a 26-year-old in regard to a tip on nutrition or whatever else it might be. But I think they do if it's the right ambassador. 100% it's the right ambassador, because that guy's probably going to be highly accessible. And that's the one, that's the one you're going to go and bump into at the expo or the after party, whatever it might be. And there's nothing, but I've sat there with Nick and Jared and these guys, and I've just seen people swamp them. And to be able to get close to these guys and chat to them, and that's authenticity at its best. It's such a cool thing to be able to do. So I think in that sort of point of view, there's influence can happen in different ways.
Mate, and it happens when you least expect it too. I've got a nice little anecdote for you. In the end, it just comes down to communicating the message or being accessible. And you will remember, I don't know how long ago, it was probably 15 or 20 years ago, there was a show on television called The Biggest Loser.
Yeah.
And it was a reality show where they got people on and they had to lose weight. They all had to live together, and they had celebrity trainers, and they were trying to whip them into shape. And they used to have this segment called Masterclass, where they would bring in a professional athlete for every season, and you would talk to the contestants, and I got invited on, I think it was in 2009, and they used to film it over at the old Quarantine at North Head, Manly. And I remember driving over there thinking, oh, this would be interesting, because I'd watched the show a couple of times to do a bit of research to see what it was all about. And I thought, I wonder how this is going to go down. I mean, what's a world champion going to stand in front of, you know, is it going to be the right message? Because I talk about, you know, and you know me as an athlete, I was never one to monitor my weight as such. I ate to fuel my effort. For me, eating was a way that I could do the training that I wanted to do, and then eat more to recover so I could do the training again the next day. I was never counting calories as such. I was just fueling my body, and I trained a lot, so I needed to eat a lot, and I understood that. I was never getting down in the weeds of these people talking about, oh, you need to monitor your weight and lose weight, power to weight. I thought, you know what, the main metric I need to monitor is my performance in training. And if I'm strong enough and I'm hitting the numbers, that's good. And what I found was, to do that, I needed to fuel the effort. I needed to throw coal on the fire, so to speak. So, but I drove over there thinking, what's this going to be like? And you know what I found? That these people were in there to change their life. It wasn't a TV show for them. It was a catalyst to try and change their life. I spoke to all of them. Some of them wanted to be better parents. They wanted to have more energy. They wanted to coach their kids' sporting teams. Some of them just didn't like the way they looked and wanted to change their appearance. But you know, what I found was they all had really good motivations for, and I found, speaking to them, and the mindset they had was similar to being a professional. They were highly motivated and driven.
Mm.
So there was more relatability than I thought. So I guess the point is, you just never know. But it's to your point, like when we're talking about who's your best ambassador, is it a pro athlete? Is it an influencer? Well, it could be, the answer is A and B. It could be, it's whoever speaks to the person, whoever, if there's a connection and a relatability and an understanding, and someone might be a world champion and someone might not be, but they might have similar drives and motivation and mindsets around continuous improvement and those sorts of things. So I think the messaging and the communication and that sort of connection is most important.
Yep. Hey, mate, I appreciate your time. One more question. So back to Training House. So what does it look like for you for the next couple of years? What are you looking for? Are you world domination? Are you after any more ambassadors? What is it? You've got you've got Nick, you've got Jared, you've got Dylan. So let me go: Nick Thompson, Jared Osborne, Dylan Clark. And I know you have a few more.
Rachel McCarthy. We've got, yeah. I mean, look, what we're looking for is, I think what I looked for as an athlete, continuous improvement.
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't step into something and dominate. There's lessons to be learned. There's and I don't think there's, you know, a timeline as such, but it's about just trying to be better. Same mindset. The people I'm involved with, my partners in Training House, you know, I think we all have the same mindset around it. Is just make it a better business. Be a better partner to our partners. Be a better company to our consumers. Just be better. And I think, you know, one thing that being an athlete taught me is there's a menu of things every day. There's a lot of boxes you can check every day to be better, and check them, get them done. Check the boxes, be better across the board. And so that's our thinking. And I think if we do that, if we inch our way forward, take the big wins when they come, batten down the hatches when the inevitable tougher times come, yeah, I think we'll be okay. I think there's certainly a market for what we're doing. We've all of us involved in Training House have been involved in endurance sport for a long time. We love the community. I think we understand the community. We understand how it's changing as well. So our goal is just to keep moving the whole thing forward. We don't, there's no sort of designated timeline as such. We just want to be better at all the things we're trying to do and check all of those boxes. And like in any startup, it's all hands on deck. So we're just trying to, of course, we've got our priorities and we want to make sure our non-negotiables, we do those very, very well, like stock all the best brands that people want, be super competitive on price, fulfill orders very quickly within 24 hours. You know, customer service is important to us. We respond to our customer messages really quickly. So all of those things, I think that most direct-to-consumer businesses try to do, and online businesses, we're trying to run that playbook. But we also want to turn up our goal this year, I guess, moving forward. One thing, we had a couple of stands at race expos last summer. We want to do more of that. We want to be there at events, on the ground with the athletes, and just do more of that kind of thing, more partnerships with community groups, run clubs. So yeah, we try and get our boots on the ground where we can, and you know, the thing will hopefully grow, and it'll do so at its own pace if we do all the right things in the background that we should be doing.
Mate, fantastic. Let me, it'll be remiss of me not to ask this question, and it's without notice, but I know you'll forgive me for it. So we've got, mate, this year's Kona is just looking to be just mind-blowing in relation to the talent that's going to be there on the big island from a both female and male point of view. It's just so much going on, and I don't want your winner. I wouldn't put that type of pressure on, but I'd be interested in the smoky for both the male and the female. And let's say, I think top 10's too easy. Let's say a top 5. Give me a smoky on the top 5.
Okay, you know me, I love pressure, but it's an interesting one. You know, one of the historical stats that I love is that the winner, I think 80 to 90% of the time, comes from either the top 4 or the top 5 of the year before. So now that stat has been altered in recent times, because that was a stat that they applied to Kona, and of course the venue has changed from Kona to Nice. But one thing I did notice in the years that it changed was the top 5 from, was it Kona or was it Nice first? Yeah, it was Nice. The top 5 from Nice in 2023 for the men would have been the top 5 in Kona the following year, with the exception of Sam Laidlow blowing up. And so the same players regardless of the venue. So I think that speaks to, and it was very similar on the women's side. A lot of the top 10 was similar. And you know what else was similar too, when you extrapolate the race from St. George into there, Utah, it was a very similar 3 or 4 from the top. There were a few athletes, Leon Chevalier was one of them, Christian Blumenfeld, who were in the top 10 regardless of the venue. So I think that shows the best people find a way wherever the venue, and because they're versatile, they're consistent firstly, but they're versatile. They can apply their skill set across a range of different courses, and they know how to deal with pressure, and they have the experience. So I think the top 5 from Nice on the men's side last year is going to be the winners going to come from that, I think.
Yeah.
I like, you know, I'm going to give you a winner or two. I like Casper Stornis, and I like Martin Van Riel are the 2 guys, I think, for a number of reasons. And Christian is, I think KB is the greatest male triathlete of all time. And I think even now in his career, I'm going to go as far as to say that, because and look, there's arguments for 3 or 4 athletes, but the one thing I've seen him do that I didn't see anyone else do is he not only went up in distance, he came down in distance the same season, and went from, you know, Kona, where he got a podium, to 70.3 Worlds 3 weeks later that he won, to an ITU WTCS sprint race the week after that, which he had a sprint finish for second.
Yeah.
So that kind of versatility in that shorter time frame. Of course, we know he's won an Olympic gold. He's won the accolades, and the times you see him come unstuck is when I don't think he so much other athletes beat him. He beats himself sometimes because he tries audacious things that only the greats try. Like, you'll remember he raced the Paris test event for the Olympics, flew through the night to the T100 race. He got fifth in a WTCS race, flew overnight, arrived in Singapore, won Singapore, then flew back up to Europe for the 70.3 Worlds, and unfortunately got sick.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. Sometimes he gets unstuck because he tries these. I saw him in Kona one year in second place get sick because he was trying to jam in 180 grams of carbs, and So it worries me this year. I think last year he was completely dominant in every race, and he still delivered at a high level in Nice, but his two countrymen just bumped it up as you need to for world champs. And I fear he's done the same thing this year. He's come out of the gate super quick in New Zealand. Where else did he race? Was it Texas and then Oceanside? He did, and he did Geelong 70.3, that incredible 1:07 run.
Yeah,
Flew across the Pacific, did Oceanside, did Texas 3 weeks later, ran a 2:30 marathon. So I'm looking at that thinking, it feels similar to last year where he still raced the world champs at a high level, but he just didn't have that extra 1 or 2%.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. And my Smoky, which was your actual question for the top 5, is our boy Nick Thompson. He's my Smoky. He's my Smoky. And for the women,
the ladies, yep.
I think it's even harder to pick. I think Solveig Lofset has been unbelievable this year. Kat Matthews is always super consistent. Lucy is incredible in Kona. Taylor Knibb, Laura Phillip. I mean, the women's race is probably as deep or potentially even tougher competition. So, I mean, I don't know. Being on the ground in Kona last year, all the talk leading up to the race was Taylor v Lucy and what was going to happen on the bike. And, Lucy would have a little gap out of the swim. Would Taylor ride up to her? Lucy doesn't want her to ride up. They're going to get locked in this little battle. And that kind of looks, from the outside looking in, as exactly what happened. And I know they've got the same coach, and I'm sure Dan would have had a chat to both of them about staying in your own lane, but it looked like there was a bit of a dynamic, and all the while 3 or 4 minutes back, Solveig Lofset was just doing her own thing, and she ended up winning the race. And Kat Matthews ran a 2:47 and only got beaten by 35 seconds. So, mate, I don't know. If I'm going to give you a top 5, and this is in no particular order, and I don't think this is earth-shattering. I think most people would give the same top 5: Lucy, Kat, Solveig, Taylor, and Laura Phillip.
Yeah.
Amazing. Who could be a Smoky?
Paula?
You know what? That's a good shout. That's a very good shout. I was just thinking after watching, someone asked me last week after Paula's win in Lake Placid whether, I thought she could race well in Kona, and the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And you don't know if someone can win Kona or not. You have an idea that they can race well there.
We're not talking about winning. We're just talking about a little smack, aren't we? Top 5.
I think she can do it. She's a very good swimmer, one of the strongest on the bike, good runner, knows how to pace herself, tons of experience, raced everywhere in every climate, every condition. Got, her husband Eric's a smart guy. She's got good people, great coaching. So I think it's a good shout, man. That's but is she a Smoky? I mean, that's kind of like,
yes, she's got to be, because it's Kona. She hasn't done one Ironman. You've got to be a Smoky.
It's only a volcanic island in the Pacific, mate. Don't put it up on a pedestal. Come on, mate. It's only Kona.
No, it's not only Kona, Crowie. All right, my man. What a pleasure. Thank you. Absolutely.
No, good to chat.
Love talking.
All right, we're in the car. We're heading down to see Jack. I've got the mighty Wayne Knott with me, and he's going to tell us what's going on from his point of view with today's fitting. So what do we got planned, Noddy?
Well, we're hoping to just fine-tune what I've been doing since my last bike fit, which is about a year ago. Changed my front end, so lowered my front end, put shorter cranks on.
How short? What do you got at the moment?
From 172.5 to 165.
Right.
And pedals, I've got longer pedals now, longer shafts on the pedals because I've put the power meter on. And I fiddled a bit with the saddle, so I'm not sure if it's all right. So it's really a fine tune, looking for some free speed, making sure my position's right, comfortable, opening up the hips.
And what have we got? We've got a Canyon Speed Max.
Canyon Speed Max.
And what's your front end at the moment?
It's a 38 South.
Yeah.
Front end. Dropped the front end, so I've taken another 20 mil out in the last 2 weeks, so we just want to see if that works or if we have to take it back up. And yeah, just looking for some free speed, trying to be more aero. I'm guessing I'm older, but I'm more flexible. I've been riding this bike for 4 years now, so hopefully we can fine-tune it.
So there we go. Yep, so even as I've mentioned before, at our age, we're still trying to find free speed, and that's absolutely okay because there's plenty of free speed out there, and I'm sure Jack is going to sort Noddy out today and see what we can find out. So stay tuned. All right, so we're at the famous Mike's Bikes. It's been here since 1979. This place is an institution on the Gold Coast, specialised dealer. Look at this. Oh, he's the great man. Say hello, Jack.
Yeah. Hello, YouTube. How's it going?
Yes. Got everything you need, including great staff.
Good.
Mike's Bikes.
11 years now.
11 years?
Yeah. Well, on the books for 11 years, and then I did some work experience at the start, which is about eight months
Right.
of unpaid, so that's why I'm on long service. So,
Are you on long service leave?
yeah, as of next Thursday is my last day until after Kona.
Okay, mate, tell me about Kona prep.
Yeah, Kona prep's well underway. I've done some sweat testing. Did that through the guys at Precision, which was really good.
Cool.
So got some good data there. And then yesterday I just got back from South Australia.
Ah,
where I
saw that.
went to the wind tunnel with 2 times you.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
What were you testing?
We're testing the new suits.
Oof.
So they've got some new fabric and also mainly just the new stitching and new cuts of the sleeves.
Yeah, okay.
So got a few more watts out of them.
Did
which
ya?
is good.
Did ya?
So,
Is it all going to be ready for you for Kona?
Yeah, it's going to be ready. They're going to be released, I think, the first week of September. So keep your eyes peeled if you're
6 times you.
Suit. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So that was good, and I couldn't change too much with the bike. But,
Right.
At the end of the session, I got to they gave me a few little things, and I went in the tunnel. Just sort of mimicking a new position.
Was it the slick or the Hanso?
The slick.
Oh, the slick. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. So that was good. That was after Ellie Beach try as well. So I was up there with Jared and Sam, 2 of the other M5 lads.
Yeah, mate, and you had a you just full on into a block, weren't you? So you sort of guess you just treated that like as a long or actually a short training session.
Yeah, short training.
Because you went for a run after, didn't you? Did you go for a?
Yeah, I did a run before and after. So I did some hills and a little few strides a day before. So
right.
15k.
Yeah.
Just to sort of beat the legs up a little bit, and then I did a run after the race. But the run during the race was not very pretty. Both Jared and Sam flew past me.
Well, they're in a fresher place than what you are at the moment, mate, so that's okay.
They're looking really good. Jared obviously's got Nice, and I think Sam's doing Sunny Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're both going well, and then obviously Nick I saw is over with maybe a secret training partner.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can say who he's with.
Oh, no, tell us.
No, it's with Sam Laidlaw.
Oh, yes, so it could be.
Sam's mate.
Yeah. Height is not too bad on that one. Go and do 3 10 strokes and then stop at 5 on this one for me. Aerodynamics by thinking that they can't hold a position for 180, but he said that in a race, because there's so many undulations, uphill, you have a drink and stuff, you use that as an opportunity to break out of aero. Yeah. So you want to maximise your aerodynamics for the sections where you actually...
Because I'm going to ride, that's right.
Yeah, that would be good.
So who wants to come to Chattanooga with me?
I
Jack?
will. I will for sure.
Yeah. Noddy?
Yeah, I'm in. I qualified.
Qualify where?
Geelong.
Righto. Jack, where will you try and qualify, mate?
Well, I'm actually half thinking of doing Sunny Coast
Oh, actually before.
before Kona,
Why?
but I'm not sure. It's still undecided.
Why?
It is 4 weeks out, so it's probably good to have a hit out, but then at the same time that you don't want to put yourself or peak too early. So yeah, I'm gonna have a think.
Have a chat with your coach, mate.
Yeah.
Have a good chat to yourself.
Have a chat to the manager.
Have a chat
What's
to
the
man-
manager reckon?
The manager would probably tell you, well, I don't know. Actually, I
It's
don't
the same
know.
day as an East, so everyone's
Yeah.
racing East. With
Yeah, I reckon it could be a little opportunity there, Jack.
at Sunny Coast.
Yeah. I reckon it might be worthwhile having a little bit of a crack at.
These, yeah,
Get
these
it-
in Kona, yeah.
Get it knocked on the head, get it done.
Yeah. You qualified for these in Kona.
So Noddy, that looks better. Does it feel better?
Yes, absolutely.
Why is that, Jack? Why is it?
Well, yeah. Before we were probably getting a little bit too close. He was sitting a little bit too far forward.
Yeah.
So we've moved the seat back a little bit, and also moved his cleats back as well. So hopefully that'll keep his knee relatively in the same horizontal position, but just give him a little bit more length. And
Gotcha.
especially now he's got the shorter cranks. His knee, when your knee comes up to, like say there, or even a little bit higher, it's not going to be coming up as high.
Yeah.
So we can afford to stretch you out a little bit more, and you're not going to be as closed up through the hips.
And that angle doesn't look terrible either.
No. We'll measure it and have a look, but yeah.
Well, that's episode 4, done and dusted. Thank you for tuning in. And as I promised, I did want to mention the fact that we have a very exciting guest coming up next week, and it's Cam Worth. Now, Cam is, without doubt, the best multi-sport athlete on the planet. And I'm talking about someone who has represented the country in rowing. He's done grand tours, and he's finished in the top 10 in IRONMAN World Championships on 3 different occasions. So there's an athlete. But Cam is also a very, very smart business guy that's got some huge plans, which he's going to share some of his thoughts with you next week. And we might even be able to drag a tip from him in relation to Kona. Given the fact that he's actually racing Kona, we think we might just ask him about the women's. Because I know from a men's point of view, he would be certainly picking himself as someone that's going to be hard to beat.